The sky bled. Swirls of crimson and violet painted the horizon, a toxic masterpiece. Dust devils danced across the barren landscape, whipped into a frenzy by the relentless wind. This was Noxus 3, a once thriving colony, now a graveyard bathed in radiation. Jaggar coughed, a dry, hacking sound that echoed in his helmet. His suit, a patchwork of scavenged parts, was his only shield against the lethal atmosphere. Each rasping breath was a victory against the invisible enemy that clung to every surface, seeped into every crevice. He clutched his energy rifle tighter, its cold metal a comfort against his raw, cracked hands. His eyes, bloodshot and weary, scanned the desolate plains. Every shadow held the potential for danger, every gust of wind a whispered threat. Survival. It was a brutal, unforgiving task on Noxus 3, a planet where hope had long since withered and died. Jaggar had been scavenging for weeks. He had lost track of time, the endless days blurring into a nightmarish montage of hunger, thirst, and bone-deep exhaustion. Sleep was a fleeting visitor, always chased away by nightmares of the disaster, of the screams of Tessa. He stumbled over a rusted piece of metal, a skeletal reminder of the life that once was. Buildings lay in shattered heaps, concrete bones picked clean by the scavenging winds. The air hung heavy with the silence of the dead, a silence broken only by the crunch of Jaggar's boots on the irradiated soil. He pushed on, driven by a primal urge to survive, to see another sunrise, however poisonous it might be. Each step was a testament to his will, a defiance against the planet that had already claimed so many. He wasn't sure why he kept fighting. Perhaps it was the faint hope of finding other survivors, a glimmer of humanity in this desolate wasteland. Or perhaps it was simply the fear of surrendering to the darkness that gnawed at the edges of his sanity. The wind howled, a mournful cry that seemed to carry whispers of the past. Jaggar reached a cluster of buildings, their skeletal remains reaching for the unforgiving sky. These were once homes, shops, places filled with life. Now they were hollow reminders of the catastrophe that had befallen Noxus 3. He picked his way through the rubble, his boots crunching on broken glass and twisted metal. A faded child's toy lay half buried in the dust, a poignant symbol of the life that was lost. He averted his eyes, unable to bear the sight for too long. The air grew heavy here, thick with the ghosts of memory. He could almost hear the echoes of laughter, the murmur of conversations, the joyful shouts of children playing. But it was just the wind toying with his sanity, a cruel reminder of all he had lost. Jaggar pressed on, deeper into the ruins, seeking shelter from the relentless wind and the haunting memories that clung to him like a shroud. He knew he couldn't outrun the past, but maybe, just maybe, he could find a temporary reprieve within these silent, crumbling walls. A flicker of movement caught his eye. He froze, every muscle in his body taut with tension. The dust swirled, revealing a set of tracks. Not his own. These were larger, three-toed, dragging deep furrows in the irradiated soil. Reclaim. His heart hammered against his ribs. The Reclaim were creatures warped by the planet's radiation, driven mad by hunger and aggression. They were the nightmares of Noxus 3 given form, and they hunted with a relentless, primal fury. Jaggar tightened his grip on his rifle, his finger hovering over the trigger, his senses sharpened, every nerve ending screaming danger. He could smell them now, a musky, metallic scent that spoke of decay and violence. He backed away slowly, never taking his eyes off the tracks. He knew better than to underestimate the creatures. They were cunning, relentless, and they could smell fear like blood in the water. The silence returned, heavier than before, broken only by the rasp of Jaggar's breath inside his helmet. He pushed the encounter with the Reclaim to the back of his mind, focusing on putting one foot in front of the other, but the fear lingered, a cold knot in his gut. He wasn't alone. The whispers had returned, slithering through his mind like venomous snakes. They whispered his name, echoing Tessa's voice, twisting his memories into painful barbs. He squeezed his eyes shut, willing them to silence. Jaggar. He spun around, rifle raised. There was nothing but the wind whistling through the ruined buildings, mocking his fear. He was losing it, the radiation, the loneliness, the constant threat of danger. It was all taking its toll. He had to stay strong. He had to hold on to his sanity for Tessa. He repeated her name like a mantra, a fragile shield against the encroaching darkness. "Tessa," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I'm coming, Tessa. Just hold on." He stumbled into a clearing, the remnants of a park. A rusted swing set creaked in the wind, a mournful lullaby. And then he saw her. Tessa. She sat on a bench beneath a withered tree, her back to him. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back, just like he remembered. Relief washed over him, so powerful it threatened to buckle his knees. "Tessa," he croaked, his voice thick with emotion. She turned, her face pale and drawn, her eyes hollow and dark. But it was her. She was alive. He wasn't alone. "Jaggar," she whispered, her voice a ghost of its former self. "You came back." He rushed towards her, his heart soaring with a hope he thought had long since died. He reached out to touch her, to reassure himself that she was real, that this wasn't another cruel trick of his mind. Her skin was cold as the irradiated earth. He recoiled, his stomach twisting with a sickening dread. Her eyes, once filled with warmth and laughter, now burned with an eerie, otherworldly light. "Jaggar," she repeated, her voice a chilling echo of his own thoughts. "Don't you recognize me? It's me, Tessa!" He stumbled back, his mind reeling. This wasn't Tessa. This was something else, something twisted and wrong. The whispers intensified, a cacophony of voices chanting his name, urging him closer. "Don't listen to them, Jaggar," a voice hissed, cold and sharp in his ear. "She's gone. She's been gone a long time." He looked from the apparition of Tessa to his trembling hands, his mind fracturing under the weight of his despair. He couldn't tell what was real anymore, what was memory and what was madness. He sank to his knees, a strangled cry escaping his lips. The world around him dissolved into a kaleidoscope of colors and shadows, the line between sanity and insanity blurring beyond recognition. A single searing pain pierced through the fog in his mind. His hand clutching his chest felt something hard and cold. The dog tags. Tessa's dog tags. He always wore them, a reminder of his promise to find her, to bring her home. But Tessa was gone. He had to accept that. He clung to the dog tags, their familiar weight a lifeline in the swirling vortex of his despair. He had to keep moving. For her. For himself. He looked up, the apparition of Tessa gone, the whispers fading into the howling wind. The crimson sky seemed to pulse, the air thick with a strange energy. He was changing, becoming something different. Fear warred with a strange sense of acceptance. Noxus 3 was claiming him, twisting him just as it had twisted the creatures that roamed its wasteland, but he wouldn't surrender to the darkness. He would fight. He would survive. He rose to his feet, his legs shaky but his resolve hardening with each passing moment. He was no longer the man he had been before Noxus 3. The planet had taken its toll, leaving its mark on his body and soul. But he was still alive. He still had a purpose. He would keep moving, keep searching, even if it meant facing his demons at every turn. He would honor Tessa's memory by surviving this desolate, unforgiving world. The wind howled around him, a symphony of despair and defiance. He pulled his tattered hood over his head, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The crimson sky beckoned, a testament to the planet's beauty and its cruelty. He took a step, then another, his boots crunching on the irradiated soil. The journey ahead would be long and perilous, but he would not falter. He would survive. He would walk into the storm, carrying the memory of Tessa with him. A flickering beacon in the encroaching darkness.